we're going to get started. We've got people that we know aren't in, and that's okay. We'll get you in. We'll kind of work with you as Gary's talking. We'll make sure we connect up with you. We have another person coming. Her name's Megan. You probably saw her around wearing a BYU kind of workday shirt, I believe. I think we got everybody over here except for one gentleman and Carrie and Lynn. And I think we're good other than that. Okay, we're good to get going.
Okay. Hey, thank you guys for coming this morning. We're excited to talk to you a little bit about Workday. By show of hands, this is their first exposure with anything regarding Workday? We got a few. Great. The intent today is we grabbed some of PF's finest. So if you're in the room, you made the list. Congratulations. What we wanted to do is work with managers and supervisors to talk a little bit about responsibilities regarding time tracking. One of the things that we're most excited about is this idea of getting away from paper time cards. And Workday has provided some really awesome mechanisms for us to do that. So we're hoping to go through a few questions that you might have today. One thing that we want to do is if you have questions or comments throughout, please just raise your hand. We want to shout them out because we've got kind of two rooms joined by a wall in the middle, and we want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to have those questions answered. We will go through quite a few different things today, but we did want to answer a few different questions for you. Jump down one slide. These are some of the questions that we're hoping to answer for you today regarding some of your responsibilities. We'll have some new terminology. Allocating time will be the way that we assign a project. You have a question?
No, you're good.
Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
How we allocate time or how we assign a work order to what will be our timesheet in the future is called allocating time. There'll be questions when you go through this as to why we're configured the way that we're configured. And that goes through a couple of years that we've been working on this project, but it also includes some constraints that we have with the system that we're working with. We'll talk about who can see your timesheets. We'll talk about leaves and absences. That's kind of sick and vacation. We'll talk about some of the nuances and work around those things, but we'll open it up to any questions that you have throughout. But we just want to let you know that we're excited about this product. We think that we've got a solution here that's going to provide an opportunity for everyone to get paid correctly and for us to bill correctly. And though there may be some things in there that you're like, oh, I'm not so sure about this yet, please understand that, like, again, over time we'll work through those, but our main goals were to make sure, one, that we got you the right paycheck, and two, that we billed our customers the correct way. That was our focus, was on being accurate that way. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about what a SaaS system is. So Workday is what is called SaaS. So it stands for Software as a Service. You might be familiar, of course, with Excel and Word, right? You have them on your computers. You just do it, and that program runs on your personal computer or your work computer. It's down here on something you can physically touch. PeopleSoft is run on servers that are down here in a secret room that you can physically touch them. And PeopleSoft runs on those things. When we talk about software as a service, it means that it's running in the cloud, meaning that the servers aren't located here. They're located someplace else. Are they located someplace where somebody can put their hands on them? Yes. Somebody somewhere can put their hands on them. It's just not us. And so they call that being in the cloud, meaning that somebody else is doing it and we just access it remotely. That's all that cloud-based stuff really means. So the technical definition, as you can see on the screen, is it allows users to connect and use cloud-based apps over the internet. And as you logged in today, you saw that. You went to BYU 8, and there's a URL that you put in that accesses Workday. So some examples. If you've ever used Zoom, whether you knew it or not, Zoom is a cloud-based program. So is Box. If you've ever saved anything out to Box, Box is also a cloud-based program. You might have used Salesforce or be familiar at least with what Salesforce is. And then of course, Workday is cloud-based as well. You're going to hear us talk about the word tenant. You've heard us say tenant. You can think of tenant like you do, let's say an apartment building, like a fourplex, right? You got 4 apartments, people rent out the space and you call them tenant, right? That's the way cloud-based stuff works too. We are renting, as it were, space. And so they call the spaces we rent tenants. If we have BYU 8, how many tenants do we have at minimum? 8. We actually have like 13. It can be confusing admittedly. Sometimes it's like I'm in the wrong tenant, somebody else is in another tenant. But you can think when you hear the word tenant, it really is just saying, what room are you accessing the data in? Now, when we go live, there will be multiple tenants, but there will be what is called a production tenant. And so you won't need to know the things like BYU 8 in the future. You will just go to the production tenant. Anyway, so if you hear the word tenant, that's what we're referring to. It is referring to the space that the Workday system is running on. All right. Because this is a cloud-based system, unlike PeopleSoft, we have tweaked PeopleSoft a lot over the years. We have like 20 years worth of tweaks in the system. It's very efficient, right, with the way we run our business here at BYU. But with Workday, all of that goes away. That 20 years of efficiencies we've built in, it gets scrapped all in one fell swoop. And so with Workday, there isn't the ability to just go into the system and just change stuff. You can't just make a screen look different. You can't make it behave different. You can't tell it you want it to do something different from somebody else. Everybody, the under the covers work of the system, the closet server, it's the same for everybody. Walmart uses Workday. So a big company like that is using the same thing we are. So you would think, well, Walmart's different from us. How do we tweak things that we want to do versus them? Well, that comes to things that we can configure. There are some things we can do that can make things behave slightly different from other businesses. We can make it tailored, as you will, a little bit to ours. But what does that mean? It means that you're going to see stuff and you're going to be like, well, this would work better if it was this way. You're probably right. Probably would work better if it was the way. Is there anything we can do about that? Probably not. If you're comparing it to a building, right now, all the work we've done the last few years, we've already laid the foundation. That was done a long time ago. The walls are up, floors are in, the roof is on, it's shingled even. What can we do now? Well, right now we could repaint a room if we needed to. We could change the locks on a door. But we're not going to re-pour the foundation again. We're not going to build walls. We're not going to add to the building. So there's things that you're going to see that we've had to make decisions along the way that have brought us to where we are. Everything that you're going to see has been done with purpose and in conjunction with physical facilities administration team. So Gary specifically and his team. So as you go through things, you might give some recommendations that we might be able to look at something. If something isn't quite like, could we do something here? If you have a recommendation for us, we're going to take that and we'll see what we can do. But the chances are it probably won't happen, especially this close to go live. We're kind of shutting down any kind of changes. So we're very close. All right. Something you should know going into Workday as you managers, and you are going to be called managers in Workday terminology. Here at BYU, we call you supervisors. But in Workday terminology, you're referred to as managers. And so that means that you have people that report to you. You're going to have various employee types report to you. Here's some of them. If Shane Reese reports to you, that would be a little weird. So probably not going to happen, right? But we have an executive employee type. We also have staff. Now, are you familiar with the term administrative employee? Are some people administrative employees in here? That term goes away. we won't have an administrative group anymore. You'll be staff. Everybody is staff. You're just going to be staff exempt, which is a very regulatory word, meaning that you're exempt from overtime. So we're not going to pay you overtime is what that means. If you're staff non-exempt, that means congratulations, you get overtime, right? Yay. All right, so we have staff exempt, non-exempt. We also have students, which you know. We have other employee types, which probably you won't deal a whole lot with, obviously faculty. We have some fixed term contract, which is restricted to continuing education. And then we have our last group here, which I gotta move things out, the seasonal, which you can see the FSY, our FSY counselors for that program, they're kind of in that group. You're not gonna really do anything with those. But the groups you are going to see are going to be staff, non-exempt, some staff, you might be staff exempt, and then you're gonna see students. And you're gonna want to, as you go through things, you're gonna want to look at things by these employee types. Like show me all of my student workers, for example. So that's why knowing employee types is important to you. I will say that we've been very purposeful with everything we put on the slides today. Everything you're going to see has purpose and meaning for you specifically. There isn't a slide on here that is junk. So everything we're telling you today has meaning for now and when we go live. So I would definitely encourage you to make notes on the pad of paper you have next to you, or if you don't have one, you can come up and grab one. But you're going to want to remember certain terms, certain concepts, and things as we go. So definitely use the paper that you have. All right. There are a lot of ways to do the same thing in Workday. There is no right answer. You can get to an employee multiple ways. We're going to show you some of those. And we're going to also show you how to get to an employee timesheet. So some things I would note from this particular slide are the 3 ways in which you can find your employees. You can find them via the search bar. You can find them via the time and absence on the side menu. And you can find them with the org chart. So those are 3 ways that you can find employees. We're also going to show you, as I said, the employee timesheet. And we're going to kind of jump out of this. And we are going to jump into an actual tenant. So let us... Okay. So the search bar, as you can see on the screen, it's at the very top. This search bar up here that I just clicked inside and it did this drop down piece. So the search bar, you can put in a name of an employee, or you can put in, if you know it, you can put in the ID number. So if you want to, give it a shot. Type in somebody's name, or if you know an ID number, type an ID number of somebody that's on your team. You got all the people that were having issues cleared up, right? Yeah. Awesome. All right, so try typing in a name. It will check your spelling, and it will be based upon the employee's actual name versus maybe what you know them by. You do have to type in, I will note this, you have to type in 3 letters correctly. So you do have, spelling matters, and you will learn how well you are or how terrible you are by Workday working or not working the way you expect. So 3 letters are the minimum you have to put in. So like if I'm trying to find somebody right here, right? If I'm trying to find Gary Eaton, I have to type at least 3. I did 3 of the first, and as you can see, I did a space and I did 3 on the last. And then it brought up his name for me, and I could click on Gary Eaton. So Gary Eaton, Director of Business Support. So I found the person I was looking for. Question? Yes. Oh, yeah,
So
the
that's
screen
why-
view.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're both doing the same thing.
gotcha.
So I feel like I'll like laugh.
Yes. Yep.
But there might be, just because there's
Yeah.
a lot of.
Like Smith or Jones, right? Or, you know, some of those you're gonna get things done. Yeah. Okay.
We already mentioned the data's from April.
Oh, no, but we should. The data, by the way, that you're looking at is not from today. This is from a snapshot that we took of the data back in April. So this data is as of April. So if you've hired somebody that's new or in, last month or this month, you're not going to see them. So think of somebody that's old. Look for old people, right? In the system.
Wait, are you talking about people who've been here longer?
Yeah, people that have been here longer. Or old, it's up to you. I leave it to you to decide what you're looking for. All right, we're gonna move on to the second thing. So if you look at the screen, either up here or the one below, right, there is, as you can see for Gary, there's these three things: the phone, which I'm on right now, email, and then team. If I click on team, it shows me an org chart of Gary's people. If this is you and people report to you, you're going to see your people right here. I could click on a name and do things. When I click on the name, it will bring up that employee. So I can look at that employee.
I don't have that same.
Yours might be different based upon if you went to the. Yeah, we're just looking at the org chart. Are we good? We keep this in the org chart. We good? I think everybody over here has got an org chart. All right. Now here's the next place. So those of you that are exempt employees, raise your hands. One, so raise them high so I can see. So we got 3. If you're exempt, meaning that you're currently administrative, raise your hand. Okay, wow, we got
Raise
two
it,
over
raise
here.
it high, raise it proud.
Yeah, raise it high. Okay.
No OT.
Okay, no OT.
These are the people
Okay,
that stand.
we're going to click on something here, which some of you are going to see and some of you are not going to see. Okay, so over here in this menu, it's going to say menu. So you'll either need to scroll up or whatever, and you're going to click on this menu. It's got a little hamburger. It's got 3 bars, kind of in a hamburger shape. We're going to click on the time and absence menu button right there. Time and absence. Not just time, but time and absence. It's going to take you to a screen that looks like this. It's going to look like this. If you have it, it's going to start out something like that. So, are you going to have and then just take 100,000.
I delegated. I don't like the microphone. Yeah, but that's good.
So she's
Look at this. Okay, so see how like Rob has one, too, that means you post it. So you don't have anybody.
Yeah. Okay, the other thing too is if you don't have anybody that reports to you, you're not going to see this time and effort there, right? So if you're not a supervisor, you're not going to see it.
I think, Gary, you wanted to mention that they need to, like, make sure that in the whole system.
Oh,
that
yes.
People are.
Yeah, great call out. Thank you for reminding me. So you may look at your org chart or maybe how things are set up right now in the system and say, hey, this doesn't look right. These people don't report to me. Is that any of you in the room?
This is very important right now. The words that we're saying, if you're seeing something that's wrong,
Right. So there may be some folks that have been terminated or retired or left, but if there's something structurally wrong with the org, what has happened is somebody has assigned you as their supervisor in PeopleSoft. And so if that doesn't look right, please reach out to me. We'll have an email that goes out this evening that says we have until the end of next week to get this organization right. So we want to make those changes in with e-forms. I know Renee has done some of that for a lot of you. We're going to get those things done. We want to make sure the structure is right because in September, that will be the snapshot that we use to load the system for December when we start.
yeah.
So if you're seeing things that are a little bit different, make note of it and then please email me, but look for that email that will go out to the rest of the group today, at the end of the day.
I have a question about that, Gary. Is that just the PeopleSoft feed update or the database as well?
No, right now we just need PeopleSoft stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good question.
Yeah, back here.
Sorry, I realize you probably just answered this, so if their name is on the list, they haven't been terminated yet?
It's,
Any safety-
well, the snapshot is as of April. So if you're looking at stuff and and that would have been correct back in April and you're okay with that, then thumbs up, right? But, yeah, but if you have people that are reporting to you that have never really, you're like, wow, I'm surprised that person's reporting to me, or you don't see people that should be reporting to you, that is a significant problem that we want to fix right now, right? Because it will be wrong when we go live if it's not right now. Questions on that? We're good?
So we have people.
We did have a question for guys.
Okay, you're second.
Okay, so that I've already made so much in.
Then technically they're not. So we probably need to go and change the software, make the changes. Okay, so we already have one that we found we have to fix. My guess is there's more, right? Are you guys good on this side? So we have a problem here on this. To make sure we get that cleaned up, right?
I got your
Okay. You have. You good? Okay. All right. All right. Questions up to this point? We're good? Time and absence. This also is called the manager dashboard. This time and absence, you're going to hear people refer to, hey, if there's a dashboard, the manager dashboard, whatever, this is that. This is the manager dashboard for time, right? Okay.
I do have a question.
Please.
So if you have, say, students are assigned to be supervised by somebody else
Uh-huh.
in your team to be able to approve and all the time, and that supervisor's out, can I go in then still as a manager and do those approvals?
We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
But that is called delegation. And we're going to talk about delegation here in a few minutes. All right. So let's go back to our slides here in a second. So we're going to get the slides back up and going. Okay. There's 3 ways that you can record a time into Workday. Does anybody know what the 3 are right now? What are the 3 ways you can, well, you'd have to have another job, right? Because you guys use quick time cards. Anybody know though? Just out of curiosity. So,
Computer.
it's actually the same as the 3 that we're going to use in the future. Not going to change. So in the future, you can record or clock in or check in or check out. You can do that on the web using Workday Web like we are right now. You can do it on the mobile, which is what you all install. You can go in and check out from the mobile device, or there will be clocks on the wall that you can go and say, type in your ID number and check in and check out. So you'll have 3 ways in which you and your people who are hourly, right, who are non-exempt, they will have, for those of you who are exempt, you're not going to be clocking in and clocking out, right? It's going to be the same as it is now. But for those who do check in, check out, you're going to have 3 ways to do it. And you, as the supervisor, are going to want to know these 3 ways. The web, the mobile, and time clocks.
Is the time clock going to be installed by December in the location?
They are strategically placed, so there's not, we don't have,
One in every building or?
there's pretty close to 1 in every building, yeah. There isn't 1 in every shed, I can tell you that, but there are some that are actually, we laid,
So.
well, you guys probably laid the lines, right? But somebody laid lines.
Everybody can use.
What's that?
The clock is going to be a location where not just our employees, any employee that has access to Workday will use.
That's correct. And that's how we decide where the clocks go. It's whatever place in the building has the most foot traffic that makes the most sense for employees going into a building. So they're usually on like a main floor, right? Before you go up the stairs or an elevator or something. They're usually found in a very pedestrian friendly place.
We'll get location, email with locations.
We probably can work on something like that for your teams of like, this is where you can find different clocks. Do we have something like right now that we can hand out to you? No, I don't have anything right this moment. Okay, and I think this is where we're going to change people. I'm going to turn it over to Gary, but questions about anything before I do? Anything up to this point? Good, I feel like I'm talking to the pillar, Gary, so you're going to have to talk nice and loud to the pillar, because
The pillar likes my jokes way more than these guys do, so it's fine.
Hey, did everybody get a handout when they came in? Sheet of paper.
a handout of a clock with time on it.
Okay, I'm gonna pass it to you down this way. Guys over here, did you get one?
Yeah, I got it. So that I can do it now.
Sure.
Hey, is everybody familiar with this sheet? Okay. So this is the sheet that we currently use. This is in our physical facilities. Welcome to physical facilities packet. If you can see what we do, what we've done historically, right, is that we've had everything allocated or assigned to a work order based on the 10. Is there any questions looking at this sheet really quickly before we get started? Does this look like it makes sense? Fantastic. Now, we had some questions that came on our last session, so I will just approach them right now. What if I work 1 hour and 2 minutes? What do I plug in there?
1 hour. It's 1. 1 0.
So who would put 1.1 in? Raise your hand. Who would put 1.0 in? Raise your hand. This is a much more great.
This is a sharp.
This is a sharp group. Okay.
Physical facilities finest. You said it.
What we've said
We did say that, yes.
is if you go over the hour, that first 6 minutes, we're good either way, either the 0 or the 1.1. So I know the documentation here doesn't show that, but that was a hot topic of discussion last time, and we want to make sure that that's resolved. Now, when we clock in and out or check in and out in Workday in the future, we're not going to worry so much about this clock. When we assign our hours, we are going to worry about it. But clocking in or checking in and out will be based on the seconds that we have. Now, Workday is a very high-tech advanced system, and it goes all the way out to 6 decimal points when it monitors your clocking in and out. Now,
You can imagine what it's like to calculate a check out to 6 decimal places, right?
who's really good at maths in here? Any maths people? Nellie's good?
I'm not honest.
We want to make sure that we get all of that time assigned to work orders out to 6 decimal points. No, that is not what we want to do. We've created a buffer that says, hey, we want to get within about 2.5% of what's totally accurate. So we're saying we want you to assign up to 97.5% of your time accurately to Workday. And once you do that, the system will say, oh, okay, that's okay, go ahead and submit. We'll demo that here in just a few minutes, but we want you to be as accurate as you can. And if you worked 8.0001 hours for the day, assign out 8 hours. We want you to, I mean, you guys are in the habit of doing that on time cards. We want you to go ahead and do that. We'll still pay you for that decimal piece. We just won't bill that decimal piece out. So understand that if we're too lax on our billing, we're not paying, or we're not billing the customers accurately. Any questions on that?
So just to add to what Gary's saying, right? You right now record the work order service request on the timesheet, on the time card, right? You're going to do that same thing in Workday. And what Gary is saying is that when you say this is how much time I spent on that work order, you have to be within 2.5%, or it will squawk at you. We'll show you how to squawk.
Yeah, when we look at it here in just a second, it'll make a lot more sense. So if you're a non-exempt employee, you'll be able to see the timesheet. But if everybody wants to go and get on their menu screen in the top left and go ahead and select time. Can everybody see that? That should open up a new screen and time, and that should show either my hours and all that. And then at the bottom, there's like a box that says check in, check out. Can you see that? Can everybody see that? Fantastic. If you can see that, that means that you're an hourly employee, that you're non-exempt, that you're supposed to be able to see that. Go ahead and click check in.
So since you're not seeing it, you're not, yeah, so. Yeah, there's a little couple like the only ones that check in and check out.
Anybody have trouble checking in? Raise your hand if you had trouble. We want you to check in just as soon as you get here.
So you'll be able to see what's coming. This is most overtime.
What's that?
Most overtime.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We'll get.
Okay, so that's checking in. Does that feel like it's going to be okay? Can everybody handle that? Great.
So what if you do space to
So here is what payroll is recommending. So the question was, is what do I do if I forgot to check in and I'm already at work, right? You can, if you remember later in the day, you can go in, but you wouldn't click the check-in button. You're going to do a step that we're going to show you here in a minute. But let's say you forget to check out. What we don't want is for you to remember at home that you forgot to check out and to check out from home. You should not click the checkout button or the check-in button unless you are genuinely checking in or checking out. If you have to make a correction, you have to go to the timesheet directly and do an edit and make the correction there. But we will be tracking to this very point, right? Because you have international students, right? So one of the things, unfortunately, that happens on this campus for internationals right now, like today, is that they will purposely not check out on Friday. Why would they do such a thing?
Let's go overtime, not to go over hours.
They don't want to go over hours. So what do? How does not checking out help them? They go back in and they edit it, right? And they edit the time so that it's less than 20, even though they may have worked over that, right? So it's a way to cheat on the timesheet. We're going to be tracking in payroll how the frequency with which people do this. And we will be making stuff available to you as supervisors so you're aware of this. So that you guys can take care of and talk to your people. You should talk to your people and let them know that you are going to be checking their time regularly. You are going to be looking at what they're doing on the timesheet. You should let them know that. And you should have this conversation with your team up front. Did you have a question? Okay. Did we get you?
Okay, so now that we've clocked in through the web, there's a really slick and easy way to clock in on our mobile devices as well. If you want to grab your mobile device. Megan, do you want to demo
I
that?
got it. Just give me a second to get in.
A couple of other things. When we go live in December for time tracking, there's a lot of neat functionality that we can have you sign up for. You can sign up for text notifications that will remind you about certain things, and we'll show you here just a minute on the mobile device. Once you clock in for the day, you can say, hey, will you remind me in 4 hours I need to clock out, or 8 hours I need to clock out, so that you can remember what you need to do there. Okay, Megan's going to demo
All right.
here on the mobile.
By the way, everyone, I'm Megan Dragosic, and I built this. So I work for Cognizant, and I'm not part of BYU, although I've been here a lot, so I feel like family, and there's some people that look familiar. But anyways, I'm the consultant on this, and this is my baby. So anyways, thank you all for being here and for keeping an open mind as we go through this. This is the mobile. So this is mobile. Keep in mind, we're not going to have the same functionality on web as we do on mobile. Web's going to have a lot more the functionality we can do, more reports, etc. Mobile's really going to be used for, quick punches, time allocation as needed, and for managers, it's going to be used to approve time. As a manager, I'm not going to be able to do much for my employees from the mobile. Just be able to approve time off requests if applicable. So you'll see on here, I am in as an end user, and it shows that you are checked in. So I checked in an hour and 11 minutes ago. So really simple to just click on the check out if I needed to check out. So I can enter comments or just click done, and there we are. We're checked out. I have the ability to go in from here and review time for this week.
I'm just gonna make a comment here while she's going to this next piece. So the comment section, if you go in and you have to make an edit to something like we were just talking about, it will require a comment. If you put in something like ASDF or whatever keys your fingers just happen to click to put something in, we will be contacting you and you will have to redo it. So don't make us do that. Put in why you're making the change. And if it's simply, I forgot to punch out or whatever it is, or as a supervisor, if you're doing something, whatever, you have to, your students, your employees are gonna have to put comments too. You should tell them what I'm telling you. They have to put a comment if they are making an edit. You're making an edit, use a comment. And we want to know why. Because when we get audited, and payroll is audited so often, every time the church comes down, they audit time tracking every single time they come. So this is going to be something, since you guys are going to be part of the system, that you will be audited on as well, if your people are putting comments. Thanks.
Question, so can you punch in and out as many times during the day, or is there a limit? I'll say, so you punch in, punch out, I'm running off campus for 2 hours, I come back in, punch out. So that will just accumulate throughout the day, right?
Yeah.
No limit. But if you have 100 in a day, we'll probably talk to you about why. Or your supervisor may talk to you about why too, because they're going to have to look at your timesheet and see,
Hey, what are you
And
doing?
it's not
yeah,
good use
what are
of
you
your
doing?
time.
Exactly, right? If you see a timesheet,
Well, I'm
50
saying
touches
the guy
a
who
day,
takes a longer.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
No limit there. Okay, so I'm going to check in, and this goes to what Gary was talking about regarding notifications. So if I click on check in, I've got to select my time type. So we're gonna go with regular is what you're gonna be using most often. And we will get to the other premiums that are on here in a second. And everybody's is gonna look different. So you'll also see that I have, and not everybody's gonna have this, if you have multiple positions, that's also gonna be something that you have to select. So time entry, if you are across multiple organizations for your positions, it's gonna look different for everybody, or the expectation will be a little bit different. So
Yeah, that'll be like, for example, if your student works for dining services and for physical facilities, they will see 2 different jobs there, similarly to how they would if they were to clock in currently on White Time.
So this employee's got like a research assistant. They don't need to allocate their time for that. They don't have projects assigned to them as a research assistant. So, but they do have to select the position, and we are going to try to have it so that the PF positions, if they've got a PF and non-PF, the PF takes precedence, but it's not always going to happen. But we are going to try to have that as the primary. All right, so I clicked on I'm checked in, and then there is a nice little box there to say, hey, remind me to check out at, and you can put in a time. I do not have push notifications set up. However, you can set up a reminder to remind you to check out. And there will also be, once we get into Workday, I can show you, but there's another way that employees are going to get notifications when they need to submit their time, if they've got incomplete time blocks. I'm blanking on the other things, but they will have a way to be able to opt in if they want to receive those, or opt out if it's entirely too much.
And a time block is a section of time that has an in and an out, right? A block of time. So you're going to hear that word too, time blocks. And when you look at a timesheet, you're going to be approving time blocks as a manager. So you're going to hear that term quite a bit as well, time blocks. And that just simply means that there is an in and an out tied together for a specific amount of time. Oh, while I'm at it, breaks. You should know that at BYU, we have an overdeveloped sense of integrity, right? We have people that take it to the extreme. Why is that? Well, I think we know why. So when we were talking about how many times can you punch in a day, it's not lying to say that we've seen upwards of 20 to 25 or more punches in a day. And the reason why is because we have people that have come back from missions and they're going to the bathroom and they punch out because they're using the restroom, right? They don't think that BYU should have to pay for them to use the restroom. Or they punch out to go get a drink of water. And I'm not joking, this happens today. And we have a report that shows us how many times people have done this. You should know that we are happy to pay people to use the restroom and to take a drink of water. More than happy to pay for it, right? Your people should not take breaks, and you want to write this one down, more than 20 minutes, right? If you're going to give them a break, it needs to be less than 20 minutes. If it's less than 20 minutes, it should be paid, and they should not clock in or out, right? Or clock out, really, in this case, because assuming they're on the job. So you will pay them for the 20 minutes. I've fought the auditors on the specific one because they come and audit this one all the time. No one else in the world is audited on whether breaks are taken, but the church audits us on it. So we tried to make it so that Workday would automatically pay people if they punched out and they punched in within 10 minutes of each other. We tried to automatically pay it, and it fell apart. So one of the things Workday just didn't handle very well with how we configured the system. So that means we're back on the menu, boys, for having to remind people, don't punch out for breaks, right? And don't take breaks longer than 20 minutes. And hopefully you as the manager know if somebody's abusing that, right? Because we do have the other extreme, right? We have the extreme of I'm punching out for everything under the sun, and then we have people that never punch out for anything ever. Oh, I took the 2-hour break. Did you want me to punch out for that? I mean, was I supposed to do that? Questions on breaks?
Can you show us again where you went to set the timer?
Yes. All right, 1 second, I gotta reshare on my mobile. Okay, so if you guys are a non-exempt and you're expected to punch in and out, you'll have that. So if you are new to the mobile and you have not checked in yet, go to the time tracking worklet. So I went to from home, the W in the top, or I'm sorry, the apps at the bottom, and then time tracking. You just have to kick it off once and you can check in and out from there. You have to kick it off once for it to show on your home page. Oh, okay. You don't have to? Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah, I don't think what's going on?
Yep, we're right there together, you people.
Yes, so. Okay. You want to switch back to the?
Yeah.
Okay.
A question came up in last session. Do we clock out or check out for lunch? What do you think? Yes.
As long as it's not a 10-minute.
Yeah, and we need it to go long enough that it can be considered a lunch, okay? From time to time. So I've heard. 20 minutes. No. Yeah. Again, there may be some specific policies in your shops or areas regarding how long of a lunch break you take. But from a time recording standpoint, you want to make sure that the break for lunch is at least 20 minutes. Yep, in order for it to work the way that it does. And then you will need to check back in when you're back out working. Any questions on that? Yeah, the pre and post lunch. Yeah. Yep. Just like, yep.
That's one of the questions you guys are gonna ask, if they don't take lunch. You know, everybody's supposed to take lunch.
Again, that's a shop-to-shop consideration. We're not saying that every day everybody has to take a lunch. If the policy in the shop is we need you to take a 30-minute break, the system's not going to drive that direction as your team, that you as the manager is going to drive this.
Okay. So the guys check in at 8 and go home at 3, whatever, you know. 4:30, 4. They didn't take that lunch, but, so it's just gonna track their straight time.
It will. Yep.
So I've had students from time to time need to do something for school, like a group meeting or something, so they'll go do that and they'll track that on their time sheet. sometimes it's less than 20 minutes. I've had students do that multiple times throughout the day. Would it be appropriate to say, okay, well, I spent about 40 minutes doing this and adjust that, or should we just manage that differently?
I want you to manage that differently. Figure out what's gonna work best for your group. Yeah, Desi.
In my time, they had a GPS when you went to clock in and out.
Uh-huh.
Will we still have that same access?
We will not. Workday's a little bit different in the sense it doesn't store that data. We did look at the possibility of creating a geofence, but you guys are just working all over the place all the time.
Sure.
So what we didn't want to do is exclude someone who had to go out maybe to Mapleton and clock in and out to work when we had when we had mulch and stuff out there before. So don't have a GPS thing on it.
And so it won't even tell us if they are on campus.
Correct. Yeah.
Does it care, overtime wise, it doesn't care about, I guess you're gonna wet premium time, but also it's tracking, so when you hit 40, it automatically rolls into premium time. Does that make sense? So if you hit 40 earlier in the week.
Right.
Some people are like, go home.
Right. We'll have that discussion here in just a second. There's going to be a huge shift in culture here at PF. So regarding overtime, who can tell me really quickly in physical facilities, what do we call overtime?
Over 40.
Okay, how do we designate overtime? How does my office know how to process your overtime? How does my office know to process your on-call time?
It's automatically put in there.
Automatically.
Well, I mean, we're on a list, and
Okay.
you use that list to pay us for being on call.
Okay, but if you're on call and you submit time, do you submit the same gray card? And the magic behind the curtains happens, right?
No, there's a little box that says.
Nobody ever clicks it, but I mean, your guys do. You guys are really good. Yeah, they're good. But there's not continuity across the board. So we're going to have that discussion really quick. There will be some changes in how we talk about time. Regular time is the time that we're scheduled to work, and regular time will be the time type that we select when we clock in for the day. Regular time will be what our schedule is. When regular time that's worked throughout the week exceeds 40 hours, that time becomes overtime, right? Overtime, paid at time and a half, is anything that's in excess of 40 hours. Now, do any of you work on Monday and want to book overtime on Monday and not charge whoever's the last person that you work for on Friday that overtime? Do we ever have situations that are like that?
Yes.
Harold?
Yeah.
No. So,
So what we do presently is we just call, once they've reached their 8-hour day, anything beyond that for the day is considered overtime.
right. So that's going to be a little bit of a change in how we explain things. What we're calling that in the future is event time. And so an event is going to be any time outside of the normal schedule that you want your employees to be paid and to bill out at a premium rate. That premium rate is 1.5. So to Harold's example, if someone were to work 8 hours and then were asked by their boss to maybe start a new project that they're a little bit behind on, that individual would need to clock out for the day and clock back in and select the time type event time, which would signify that they're going to get paid a premium. And then when they're done, they would clock out. Now, what about on-call? How is on-call going to work? It'll work the same way. The difference is, to Russ's point, we will get a list, just like we get a list in the current world that we live in, and our payroll team will assign you as an on-call participant. When they do that, your timesheet will then allow you to bill at on-call. And so your time type that you select will be on-call. If you're not on that, or you haven't been designated for that on-call flag, let's call it, you're not going to be able to clock in with on-call. Do we see any issues or problems with that? Dean?
On your previous one, so you worked over on Monday. But then what if you didn't end up working 40 hours the rest of the week total?
Yeah, so just to clarify here, and I didn't remember this with the other group, but I should have, because I have something to say about the overtime piece. Overtime is not given before 40 hours is reached, right? You may bill somebody at event time, right? And you may have an agreement that specific events like production have to be a time and a half. But just simply starting a new project and saying, oh, that's event time when it's not, because you're saying, oh, I should get overtime for that, you shouldn't. The law says no, right? And we're trying to more adhere to the law. The law is once you reach 40 hours of work time, then you get overtime. And this plays into the other comment I was going to make about some people think that because this event time comes into play, that they should get time and a half on the time and a half. We don't do that either. So the law states that when somebody is already compensated at a higher premium than their base rate, it's not included in the overtime calculation. So for example, if I have 5 hours on Tuesday that I book as event time, right? And let's just say I reach 40 for the week, just 40 hours in total. The way I'm going to get paid is if it was true event time, I'm going to have 5 hours at time and a half. I don't have to make sure my regular hours reach 40 because my total hours reached 40. Make sense? So then I would have 35 hours at regular pay, regular hours, and I had 5 hours at overtime. But let's just say I also work like 2 extra hours, right? So I have 37 now, right? People would say, well, that makes me at 42 hours. I should get 2 hours of overtime. And because those 2 hours were the same 2 hours that I had the event time, it just so happens, that should be time and a half on time and a half. That's not how the math works, right? And so it says you already received those 5 hours at time and a half. So those 2 hours, they're just at regular pay because it's 37 hours of regular pay. Does that all make sense?
I think the other call out here is historically we thought you need to have 40 hours of regular time in order to capture a full sick or vacation accrual. Who's thought that before? Right? That's not the case moving forward. 40 hours of time will signify your ability to have that accrual. So this needing to fill that space in there to make sure you get your full accrual doesn't need to happen.
And in fact, it will stop you from doing so. If you have your sick and vacation is used to push your regular hours up to 40. But if your total hours for the week are greater than 40, you don't need sick and vacation time. And so it will stop you from putting in sick. It will squawk at you.
I was gonna ask if somebody takes like a Friday off
Mm-hmm.
and then comes in on Saturday overtime, what does it do?
It's not overtime on Saturday. Saturday is the start of the new work week. So our work week goes from
Saturday and Friday.
very good.
Gary?
Yes.
So oftentimes I'll have guys that will be working on a surf block, and when their 8 hours comes due for that day, they're not, what do? They're not gonna stop what they're doing, clock out, and then clock back in again. They've got to stick with what they're doing. So is there a vehicle for me to make an adjustment, or them to make an adjustment in that kind of situation?
Yeah,
That happens often.
there's a vehicle for all of that stuff to work. However, what we want to encourage them to do is set that reminder, get that quick buzz, open their phone up, push that button, not lick their fingers, and then get back on the clock. It's kind of what we're looking at. I know it seems like it's different, but the whole intent here is in order for us to accurately bill what is actually outside of our regular hours, we're making that ask. But we're providing a mobile mechanism for it to do it. To that point, if something happens and somebody forgets or there's an issue there, there's a mechanism to make a correction.
Sorry, that was kind of my question.
Okay.
At the end.
A question came up about holiday hours. How does holiday work in?
So holiday is paid out. So let's just say I'm not working extra that week, right? So I have 8 hours on Monday. I have 32 hours the rest of the week, right? I have 40 hours. 32 of them are regular hours and 8 hours are holiday hours. But let's say I work, I don't know, what's the example? What did you have?
Say during that week, you have a football game that
Mhm.
is after hours.
How do they?
Yeah, like on a Friday or a Thursday or something like that, right?
Friday, whatever, yeah. And then does that delete the holiday
It does not.
to make them get on that extra hours?
No, so what will happen is if I would still get the holiday pay and then I would still get whatever I worked. So let's just say I worked an extra 8 hours during the week. So I have 40 hours worked, physically worked, and I have 8 hours of holiday pay. I'm going to get basically double paid for part of that, right? Because I have 48 hours I'm getting paid for. So it still pays you the holiday. Even if you work the holiday, say I actually worked on the holiday.
Technically double time.
Yeah, you're going to get the holiday pay plus whatever time you worked on the holiday. Now, for those that do the July 4th thing, right? July 4th this year?
Yeah.
Right? We specifically set that up with Gary so that when you work the July 4th holiday, whatever time you start at and whatever time you finish at, it's going to pay at time and a half, even if it crosses midnight. So let's just say I put in a 24-hour day. I start from noon on Saturday and I don't finish until noon on Sunday. That entire 24 hours is going to get paid at time and a half because I started and I stopped and it looks at that chunk and it says, yep, that fits within our rules, pay it.
Is Workday gonna allow someone who does work like a 10 PM to 2 AM shift? And is it going to allow them to stay clocked in across that midnight
It will.
threshold? Okay.
Mhm. It has a day breaker. We have a day breaker built in. So like, let's just say that's a Friday to Saturday thing, right?
Yeah.
That may cross our work week and even our pay period, right? Workday will know at 11:59 end, and then on midnight at Saturday starting, and it kind of knows that there's a day breaker involved.
Because right now we're kind of looking at students' times when they turn in a time card on that Friday and they work till 2 AM into the next pay period. The date on the time card is still that Friday.
Yeah.
But in the future, we're gonna have to watch because it'll automatically put them on.
You won't have to watch. It'll automatically do it. And it will, the rest of campus doesn't do that. It doesn't bring the time to Friday. It separates it out, and we want a clean break in between days because we want a clean break of what our overtime calc is going to be. We don't want to muddy it with trying to bring time in on Saturday into a Friday. So there's a day break. You don't have to watch it, is my point. So if they work from 10 to 2, it's just naturally going to have a break in there. You
Right,
don't have to
but
worry about
when
it.
we're looking at international students, we'll have to pay attention to those who work a Friday night.
That's right.
Because of their time on Saturday, that 2 hours will now be the start of their week.
That is correct.
Okay.
Part-time employees that do time cards, will there be, like, is anything different about this? You're not getting paid overtime, but like if they work a 9-hour day, that's just goes on and it's 9 hours of regular time, right?
Yep. Questions about overtime? This one, for some reason, well, it's not for some reason, I know the reason, it's pay. It comes down to the paycheck, right? So when we're talking overtime, knowing exactly how we calculate it is really important, right? It's based on physical hours worked greater than 40. That qualifies as overtime. We have premium pay, not overtime, for some event work and for bleachers and for snow removal, right? If you're doing snow, which is coming up, right? When does it start? October or November?
Yes.
Yes.
November 1st is usually.
Okay, so October is what I heard. Anyways, in Workday, it has built into it, when you punch in, we were using regular hours, you're gonna punch in and you're gonna use snow removal. You're gonna say, that's my hours, it's snow removal hours. And it will pay you at a premium rate.
So then we would when we come in at 5 AM, we shovel snow for 2 hours.
Yep.
We would clock out and then clock back in for regular hours.
That's right.
That's how we
That's
do
it.
it.
And then you would
Yes.
allocate to 996.
Yes.
Okay, which you're doing now, right? Like you're using
Yeah.
that work order.
It will squawk at you if you don't use 996.
Oh, okay.
What happens if we, we do shovel snow or we have an event and we, the first couple times we forget to clock out and clock right back in? I know we said we can edit it, but obviously we don't want to do that forever, but is it
No.
possible to edit it the first couple times?
Yes, you'll be able to edit it. But to the point, right, we understand, I think everybody's going to understand, as we go live, we're all going to be trying to find our footing. Everybody is, everybody. So, but over time, right, that is going to be something that's going to be tracked, right? We're going to provide Gary and his team, it's like, how many hours are we really spending on snow removal? And are people actually doing the right thing? He mentioned accuracy. We can't state that enough. You should punch in when you're starting the next type of hours, right? If you're switching type, you have to repunch.
And that'll be a little bit of a cultural shift, right? Like normally we just grab everything at the end of the day and we remember, but it'll be a shift. Yeah. Whitney.
So if we're doing something where it's all regular hours, like for building care, we do different buildings and stuff, but it's all regular pay. Can we just allocate that at the end, or is it kind of like I was here for 2 hours, I have to remember to clock out for that? Like,
You don't have to clock out for
but
that.
it's all regular.
It's all regular. But it will impact, which I'm sure Gary was about to say, your allocations.
Yep. We'll still have the ability to allocate that big chunk of time from like your 8 to 4, for example, but you don't need to clock in and out for each of those. So that'll be a different facet we're going to talk about here in a second. But anytime we change type of time, be that an event, our on-call, our MTC bleachers, our snow removal, anytime we make those types of changes, we need to clock in and out because we are selecting a different type of time and creating a different block.
So we asked some of our focus groups that are in your space, which is better? Is it better to allocate time as you go? Because you don't have to wait until the end of the day to allocate. If I'm on a job and I started at 8 and it's 11 o'clock and I'm switching jobs, I can go in and allocate right then and there. I can say, I can just pull it up. It'd be like 3 hours on work order, 201 or whatever it is, right? And I can do it right then. Or you can do it at the end of the day and be like, this morning I remember it was 2.5 here, and then I did 3, and then it was an hour here, hour for lunch or whatever, right? You could do it, but you can do it as you go. It seemed with our focus groups that as you go, they seem to like as a whole better than at the end of the day. So take it as you will. You don't have to wait to the end of the day. So if you're done with that one job and it's you know because you're there right then that it was 3 hours, you can put 3 hours on 201. You don't have to wait.
Question over here.
But we go back a lot of times. Like I'll go and patch something with the paint department. I'll go back to it, see if it's dry. If it is, we work on it. If it's not, we go somewhere else. So if you've already put in the time, are you able to adjust that time? Like, actually instead of 2 hours, I actually end up spending 3 hours there.
Yep.
It's not like a weird edit or anything.
No, you just go back into that chunk of time, say it was 2 hours initially, you click back in there and say, hey, now it's 2.2.
Right.
And hit enter, and it just makes that the new.
You might have to adjust something else later on in the day, right? To be less, or maybe you haven't even done it yet, and then your end thing would be
That's how I
different,
fill out
right?
paper cards now is I write and then I'll just erase and put it in again.
Yeah. We'll give you the erase button. You can have an erase button.
The last point I want to make just really quickly, we touched on it before with on-call designations. If there are changes in on-call designations, we need to know that as soon as we can, because it will exclude people from being able to clock time and on-call if we don't get them added to the list. So that's going to be super important to get that communicated out.
So on that note, for example, if some of my guys taking care of emergency situations on campus, things like that. So if they need help, like one is designated on call for that week, he comes in on call. If he needs help, he calls one of my other employees. Was he able to talk him out on call?
So it's gonna he's not. So what it's gonna determine is if you guys have decided in your team that is a special event outside of regular hours, that employee that comes in to help will be clocking in and out under event time.
Well, and the other thing too is on the on-call, if they don't have, if you needed help from somebody, and should they be getting on-call pay?
No. The on-call designation, the flag is the guy is ready 24/7 to
So
go.
there's a difference between on-call week pay and on-call hour pay. So
Yeah.
they get the on-call hour pay, but not the week pay. Because
No,
they're just coming in.
no, they're not getting the on-call
No,
hour pay.
that's what I'm trying to clarify. It's different
They're going
pay.
to get time and a half at event time because they're not the designated on-call person.
Yeah.
So the designated on-call person's.
So when they clock in, so you would clock in underneath on-call hours, and it's going to show for you.
Right.
But if you call your buddy in, he wasn't put in on the sheet, right? He's not going to even see on-call hours as an option for him.
Oh, okay.
Or if he don't even see it, right? Even if he tried to use it, let's just say he sees it and he tried to use it, it would still error out. It would still give him a problem saying, you're not on the list, dude. So he would use event time.
So just a clarifying question on my part is, so yeah, we have the phone 2 weeks at a time, right, as a rotation, currently just between two of us. So next Friday I hand the phone off, does that on-call time option disappear for 2 weeks for me?
It does.
Yeah.
Yep. And it comes back. Yep. Harold?
So, my on-call goes from 8 AM till 8 AM, and I have those 2 rotations. So if I have a guy that's on call that Friday night, does that on-call designation start at midnight on Saturday? Or does it start at 8 AM on Friday?
We'll talk about your specific situation. We just need to make sure that we get the flag where it needs to be on there.
Okay, and then the other thing is if another guy does come in to help, does it matter whether he uses event time or regular overtime?
He's only going to be able to use event time.
He's not gonna be able to use overtime?
Well,
If
if you want it to just be regular time all the way through, then yeah, he can use regular time. But what we're saying is if he comes in to help outside of his normal work schedule, we'll need him to call this an event. This is special. So we want to pay it and bill it at a special rate. So he will need to make it an event time.
Okay, so I thought, I was under the understanding event time was bleachers, snow removal.
Event time is any event outside of your normal regular work hours that you're called in to work.
So event time is basically overtime.
No, that's what I'm trying to correct. We don't want to call it overtime because it's not. You haven't physically worked over 40 hours yet. So it's not overtime.
Event time is paid at 1.5 premium.
It's a premium pay. You're going to get a premium pay because event time is premium pay.
And there will be a specific label that you'll choose for event time. Like you'll know it's event time, you'll choose event time, and then
You'll even have to say that it's premium billable time too.
Yeah, we'll have to talk.
By the way, that on-call hours for aggravate here, it's not going to disappear. But if you try and pick it, it's going to squawk at you.
If you don't have that week, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have it, if you're not on the list, it's going to squawk.
But all the
I think I
shops
figured
are
it out. I
still
mean-
from 8 AM to on Fridays. So.
Once in a while you get a guy that substitutes for another guy, but that guy, so it won't be the on-call, he's just his time called in. Because the other guy's technically on call for that week, even though he had a substitute for medical or whatever the reason is, then that guy's just gonna put in for events or whatever.
Correct. Yeah, we're only going to have one, just like we do now. One guy, one individual take each of those on-call slots. We're not going to have multiples take that slot. It's just one. And if the additional individuals get pulled in, they will submit that as event time. We'll compensate them at a premium of 1.5.
You should not use event time in your normal work schedule. If you're putting event time in at 12 o'clock, we are going to come asking why. And we're going to make sure that they have the report of, here's all the people that have event time, and here are the times they put it in, right? So you should make sure, you need to let your people know that we are watching the time, and why do you think we would watch a time at the very beginning? I mean, just for grins and giggles, why would payroll care about time at the very beginning of our changeover? Yeah, accuracy. That's what I hear everybody's comments. pointing towards, right? We want to make sure people are paid correctly. We need your help to make sure that they are. And helping people understand the rules so they're not confused when they call and talk to us about, oh, I should have gotten event time at 12 p.m. Should you? I don't, right? I'm going to say no. And then I'm going to say, go talk to Gary and his team and work it out with them. And if there's something has to be fixed, we'll fix it. But helping people understand what's going on will be helpful for everybody in the long run.
Is there gonna be any red flags for a work order outside of building codes if a person has both in the same day, regular time and event time? It'll allow them, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, so if I do, whatever the guy was in the last session, right? He had event time. I think he was saying production at the Marriott Center, right? He had some things to say. So, can you repeat those here? Probably not, but anyways, he was like, hey, so we wanna make sure that the other thing too is he wanted to build those guys more. You should know it's not going to change the billing. Even though technically, is it more fair that production should pay a higher cost? It probably technically should be more fair if they did, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to let it play out with how it goes the week.
I just wanted to make sure that as our supervisors turn in time, they won't run into an issue where it says, oh, are you, I just don't want Workday to force them one direction or another.
It won't
that
force
they can't
them.
do too.
They won't.
Yeah,
force them.
one of the major takeaways from this session today, hopefully, is that we are putting a ton of trust and autonomy, not only in your people, but in you, to review this time and make sure that it's accurate. And if you see something, multiple work orders, event and non, that doesn't smell right, you need to address it at that point. The faster we can address and correct those issues, the more accurate things are.
Will Workday recognize that they're logging in on their mobile versus on their computer?
It will.
And as a manager, you can see how they logged in?
Yeah, you can tell if it was a mobile punch or a web punch or a
A
clock.
lot of my guys don't have computers, so I don't care if they use their mobile. Will you?
No, again, we wouldn't deliver any of these mechanisms if we didn't have 100% trust in them working. Having that conversation with your team, and this came up in our last session as well. Well, I don't trust my people to use a mobile device. Okay,
That's a personal problem.
maybe that's a PDP item. I don't know. But you might need to look at your shop and say, hey, if you're going to use your mobile device, just make sure you're at where we meet. You know, if it's a conference room, if it's a space somewhere, that's when I want you to clock in. When you physically come to drop your jacket off, that's when you clock in. And set that expectation with your employees, and then check on your employees, manage them, make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And if not, have that conversation. I don't think there's a tool in the world that can't be manipulated or have fraudulent activity on it. In the case here, like, we want to protect BYU sacred resources as best that we can. But again, part of that is having you manage and help those individuals know what they need to do. So.
Yeah, some people may think that payroll running reports to validate things is like a Big Brother thing. It totally isn't a Big Brother thing. There's a line between trusting your people and knowing that there's going to be fraud in this place, right? There is fraud here at BYU. We have people that commit fraud all the time. And the most common fraud is time fraud, right? So there's a line between thinking that Big Brother's, always what. That's not the case. We're giving you every possible tool and putting trust in people to use it the right way, right? Mobile, we're allowing you to punch in, basically, you guys, wherever you're at on campus to do your job, we're allowing you to do your job. We want you to be able to have that ability to punch time at the top of Mount Temp if you're doing something for the Aspen Grove team, whatever, I don't know. But you can also punch in here or at the conference center or wherever you're at. But there is a line because people feel pressure, right? People commit fraud when they feel pressure, when they have opportunity, and when they can justify it. And even the best people in the world will fall to those three things, called the fraud triangle. And people here commit fraud. Case in point, a guy had his wife, they were pregnant, and they were expecting their first. They both worked at a place. I almost blew it. They worked at a place here. And what they did is they buddy punched. his wife would have morning sickness, and so he would come in and he would swipe, and then he would swipe his wife's card. This is back when we did the card thing. So when asked when they were caught, and it was a good supervisor that caught it, because he's like, I didn't see Jill here today. But so when it was found out, the way he justified it was he worked twice as hard. So he had opportunity because he had the cards, and the motive for it all was it was their first rent was going up. They were experiencing some financial crisis, right? And he's like, I worked twice as hard. I don't see what the problem is, right? So it's that kind of thing that we need your help as a manager to catch, right? We're trusting you to do a job and to execute correctly.
All right.
One more quick question. Say you know you're going to put in 50 hours and you know the overtime should be billed for the project you're doing at the first of the week. You know, because that's the client that's paying you to come in and hurry and get that done before your regular work week. Can you do some of that as event time knowing you're going to do 40, or is it just billed to the last person that's going to get it?
We don't want you to be in charge of how the billing happens in that kind of case. It's just, even though, yeah, those guys technically should get it and probably then some at the beginning, it's just.
That happens all the time where we're trying to hurry and get something done and then.
Yeah, it's just, there isn't a good way to do that in one day.
And I can see that causing problems, not being able to do that, because I'm on the planning side, so we're estimating stuff based on normal hours, and maybe that job was estimated with overtime, and now this job's getting billed the overtime, and it's gonna.
I would say plan accordingly. You'll have to shift. There just isn't a way for us to do it. That's one of those cement things. Yeah. Again, we'll adjust, right? You're going to see some new things come into play. It'll be just a matter of like, okay, this is our new workspace. How do we adjust to make it work? Yeah, sorry.
Okay, we want to demo overtime request real quick. So,
You want to talk through why we're requesting overtime, or the 2 hours?
Yeah, so real quick, the 2 hour thing. If you know you're going to be putting in a 50-hour week, I don't know the guy's name over here, but Alex was doing the 50-hour work week. If you know you're going to do 50 hours in the week, and you can already see the writing on the wall, you need to make a request of your supervisor to work overtime. And you simply come in and you click this button and you do it. Now, payroll is saying that you need to request it anything greater than 2 hours. Payroll has an agreement with the auditors that they will not slap people's hands for 40.27 hours, which they've tried. And I'm like, give me a break. I mean, do you work a job? It's like, who works 40 hours on the nose every week? No one does. Come on now. So we're trying to have them use some common sense and just be like, look, we're going to have some variables. There's some within a week. Don't penalize people just because they don't have an approval for 41.42 or something, right? But if it's 45 hours, okay, you probably should have asked, because that's 5 hours. It's not going to just fall on you, most likely. You should request it. If you know in advance, you should request overtime in advance. And if you don't request it, there will be, and it's audited, we will be asking why. Why didn't you get that done in advance? Well, either payroll or one of the auditors will be, somebody will
And
be asking.
as managers, supervisors, you guys will be getting a report on Monday if somebody worked over 2 hours of overtime and did not request it to be able to work. So that'll just come right into your inbox for you all to be able to monitor. So if those who are able to punch in and out, if you want to follow along with this on the web, so caveat, requesting overtime is only available on the web, not on the mobile. Yeah,
So you should write that one down. Overtime request.
underline it.
Yeah, underline it, because people are going to be like, dude, I can't do it on the mobile. And you're going to be like, yep.
Yep.
You
How
can't.
come they can't do it on their
Oh, it's a workday limitation, which is another term you'll hear quite often.
Is that the way that you can toolbox it to make it work? Because I'm like saying,
Yeah.
say if they finish their job at 2, they know that they have to finish the job up, do some overtime. They could clock out and then call it event hours, work a couple hours, just right on the spot. But you're saying they have to go to the computer to do that?
Yeah, and I think we're trying to make a difference between overtime and event time, right? So we're talking like event time, well, I don't know, does event time known usually in advance? Some of it is.
Yeah, a lot of it should be something that you know that's gonna happen in advance, a specific project or a specific event.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen in advance.
If you have an event time that just falls on you, I think that's a unique circumstance, right? And you'll still get paid your overtime. It's not going to impact the pay, but your manager is going to get something that said, yeah.
You can't request overtime on the phone. Now, I can work 50 hours, it'll let me submit, and I'll get paid 10 hours of overtime, regular.
And
you can do that, you're just gonna be able to audit it.
And you can pick event time on your phone. We're not saying you can't.
Yep.
We're just saying a request, that you're requesting overtime. So when you know, hey, I'm going to be working more than 40 hours in a week, you're thinking, oh, I'm guesstimating, it's going to be 48. Well, let's say you don't even work 48, maybe it's 44. That'll be okay. You put in a request for 8, you didn't exceed it, so you should be fine. We're just saying we're going to give a report to you. You as the manager are going to use your judgment and be like, hey, Bob requested overtime of 16 hours. I don't know, 16 hours for what? And then you might go down and see Dave. Well, Dave, oh yeah, I know he had that overtime piece. And you're going to use your judgment on things as you look over the report.
All right, so we're gonna access on the web, we are gonna access the time worklet for those of you that are non-exempt. And you get there through the menu. So homepage, menu, time. And then right down here. Yes. Right down here is just time. Just time. Is overtime requests. All right, and then new request. So there should be an orange button at the bottom, says new request. This screen will pop up. This can be done the day of. It can be done in the future. It can even be done in the past. We strongly suggest that you do this in the future. So we'll just say Friday, typically when overtime falls, is going to be on a Friday. And we'll put in for 3 hours of overtime. Now, another thing we need you to write down, underline, bold, highlight, is you need to enter comment in both comment fields. I need a comment in both.
Yeah, underline that one. Underline.
You have a red arrow in those comment boxes.
Yeah.
So we're not going to
that.
Make it a requirement, right?
Yes, I would love to.
Yeah, we
They don't
can't even
listen
do that.
anyways.
Yeah. So this one we need your help on because we need comments. So one of those boxes is going to show the comments in the right place in Workday, and the other one will not. I'm not going to tell you which one because you're going to do what? Both, and it shouldn't matter, right? It shouldn't matter. So you're going to do it in both.
So you say the same thing and don't copy?
Yes, just copy and paste.
I would copy and paste, but
Yeah.
if they don't, they will get an inbox item to correct it and add in their comments. So they will be told if they miss it.
Yeah. Just save everybody the grief and say, yeah. And I don't have any problem being like Workday's weird in this regard. It is weird because it's weird. Why have 2 boxes? I don't get it either. Whatever. Just tell them 2 boxes and we move on with life. Okay, your question.
Okay, I've got kind of 2.
Okay.
So in one, the request is for overtime, non-event time that also happens to go over 40 hours, correct? It's just for overtime.
Yeah, where's the line? And Gary, do you want them, if they know they're gonna have event time, do you want them to put in a request for overtime for event time?
Yeah,
My guess is we're probably gonna get audited on that either way, so there won't be a problem if you do it. There might be a problem if you don't.
Okay, and then two, if, just like in the example, we turned in 3 hours, and the comment is something like, I have to come work this game, and I'll probably be over 40 hours, whatever the comment is. If it goes to 5 hours, what happens? As the manager, do I get a flag, hey, they went 2 hours over their request? Like,
It'll be on the report that you get on Monday, if there's a 2-hour difference in anything, so it's kind of like the 2-hour buffer is.
Yeah, if it's within an hour of their request, you're probably not gonna get anything, but it's when it exceeds the 2 that she's talking about that you're gonna get something.
So is
Whenever there's a variance of 2 hours or greater.
So is it a report every Monday?
If somebody meets those.
Oh, okay, if
Yes.
something goes wrong.
Yeah, and you're not just gonna get it and have to review it, you're only gonna get it if you need to.
Okay,
Look,
alright.
yeah.
Yeah,
Good
that's a good
question.
point. That's a good point
Yeah.
too, right? We're not gonna try and send you dumb stuff to review, right? If it's in your inbox, it's because it's there for a reason. I don't know of any dumb stuff we got. I mean, it's like,
No, why would we?
why would
No.
we do dumb stuff?
That's for workday to do.
Nonsense. Nelly. Oh, question right here. Yeah.
So if it's sending us a flag, is it only send like my 3 supervisors, or is it sending me all their students that do the mistakes too?
Are you asking as a supervisor of the supervisor?
Yeah.
I think I just have it set up direct line, but we can do next line.
We
Do you
could.
want to?
I don't want to know.
Okay.
No, yeah, we
Alright,
didn't design it that way. Yeah,
I shouldn't be having to cover so much.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Well, hopefully not.
It just goes to the immediate one. It just goes to the immediate supervisor.
All right, so from the screen, now, this is gonna go to the manager for approval, the direct line manager. If I did need to edit it, so if it's the same screen, I would edit it over here. If I needed to delete it, like, oh, well, I'm not working overtime anymore, I can delete it as well. So this does go to the manager for approval.
Should we turn on the heat in here?
No.
Should we make it harder? I mean, I feel like it's too cold.
No.
I mean, if we could have more beads of sweat down people's faces, that would be like ideal, right? Can we turn that on to high?
My whole shirt can change colors.
Sorry for the heat, guys.
Yeah. So this is the manager, and they will receive an inbox item to review. And much with everything in Workday, you have the ability to send back as well. So if something's wrong, they need to correct it, they have the ability to send back on all these business processes, or they can approve.
You send it back, do you write a note?
Yeah, oh, yeah, and that's required. There's a little asterisk that it is a required field when you send back. So, I can do it on this. There is, if I send back, I have to give a reason for sending back. Good question. Okay, any questions on the requesting overtime? All right.
Can we demo really fast allocation?
Yes.
Yep. We've got everybody here. So we did talk a little bit about kind of the 2 steps of, there's the clocking in and out piece, and you can do that on the web, on the mobile, or on the wall clock. The other piece is allocating. Allocating in Workday is called allocating projects. Projects in Workday are any service request or work order. They're the same thing. And we want to allocate those projects to the work orders or service requests that we use today. To that point, the GUI system's not going away. We'll still continue to generate those work orders and service requests, and those will push to Workday, as well as the shop assignments that we do on those work orders and service requests, so that if the carpenter shop or the
This is
AC
the
shop,
right group to have in here, right? Did you hear the fan? Who did that? Who worked?
Oh, I
That
thought
was
it was
Randy.
great.
Yeah,
Sorry, Gary.
If you'll notice, he picked a strategic seat. Who knows what he's doing? Anyway, in Workday, service requests and work orders are project tasks. Currently in PF, we use the word task, right? It's that 4-digit code that we add after the work order. Who knows that? Who's familiar with task? Everybody? So tasks, as we use those currently, will go away when we roll to Workday. We will not have tasks anymore. You will have a work order or service request, but you won't have a task associated with it. So if you're doing work for 201 is an example we've used, you'll just need to assign that to 201. Kick it over to Megan.
All right, so I am here, I'm in on the web. I am able to punch in and out on the mobile. I'm also able to allocate time on the mobile. For some of us, and it's whatever they prefer, but I prefer allocating on the web. Just, I can see a bigger picture. The mobile is a smaller screen. It is 6 of one, 1 half dozen, and another, whatever people decide. So you'll see here, I've got, if I scroll down, I can see my punches and they align with the times on the left-hand side. And then my allocations are just going to be elapsed hours. So I am allocating 8 hours to this project, or I'm allocating 4.29 to this project. I'm only going to see what I've been assigned to, which for some people is quite a lot of options. But I can just click directly on the calendar anywhere, and then it's going to pull up time type. So from here, if I open this up, I have the option for projects, and I've got the options for project plan tasks. You do not want to use projects. Do not use it. Do not use anything in there. Workday will yell at you if you do. You want to use project plan tasks. Now, as I click on this, it is quite overwhelming because there are so many for me to choose to pick from. And it might not even be things that are applicable for me at the time. So another feature within Workday is that I can search. So I know part of what my work order is. I can search and just type in that number and look for it. The other nice feature is once I start using a project plan task frequently, it will be housed in my most recently used. So this will be something that they could go to and see a much smaller list and something that they picked from before. So again, ask me for my position. If they were to try to allocate to an incorrect position, the research assistant Workday would not be happy because that's not an allocating position. So I'm just going to put in, I think it was 1.2 hours, and then press OK. One thing I forgot to show. I also, so right up here, I did the 1.2 hours. We're all good. I also have my unmatched check-in. So let's just pretend in the example of they forgot to check out. We don't want them doing it at home. They can come in and do have the ability to update their check-in or their check-out time. So we can say I checked out at 3. I'm sure it's a different number, but then they can save that. All right. So when I save my time, I get this beautiful block over here that says unallocated project time. This is just it's helpful. It's not anything that you can click on. It's not dynamic, or it is dynamic in that it will always calculate, but it's just saying I need 4.75 hours to meet my 97.5% threshold. So I need to allocate that amount of time to get to the threshold that we're looking for. So if I go back in here and select a project from project plan tasks, and then OK, I still have 0.46 hours of unallocated time. So this will always be updating until I meet that threshold. That goes away, so the unallocated time goes away, and then I have this orange button that wasn't there before. So once my timesheet is completed, all errors have been fixed, then I have the opportunity to, this is essentially the submit. So we would review, and employees have to sign what we call a submit text. So I certify that all my hours are accurate for our policy, yada yada. Every single time they submit, they do have to essentially submit to this text saying that their hours are true and accurate. From there, I would click on submit. And then it goes up to my manager for approval. So while I'm here, I think I want to talk about the time and absence dashboard. Yep. Okay. Any questions on the allocation piece? Yes.
So you have, those blocks were cross-hatched before and now they're not?
Yes, good call. So that meant they were not submitted. So they were like perforated before. This is a submitted status, and then this green right over here means it's approved.
Workday does use color and patterns to communicate things. So you'll see this the echelon thing, and then you'll see the solid gray, and you'll see yellow and green, and then you'll see red when there's a problem. But it uses color to help communicate.
So is this a submit daily? Submit at the end of the
Submit daily.
Yep, we want submit and review daily, just like we're doing currently.
You should know that that's not going to be everybody. So you're going to have people that will come to you and be like, well, I don't have to submit daily for BYU Broadcasting. I work for them too. And you're going to be like, well, that's great for BYU Broadcasting. But when you work for PF, you submit every day. And when they submit every day for you guys, guess what's going to happen? It's going to submit every day for BYU Broadcasting too. Because they work at both places. And when you submit the timesheet as a whole, not individual lanes, right? They're going to submit.
We just don't want to inundate you as supervisors or managers with a ton of stuff at the end of the pay period that then messes up the ability for you to get everything done on time. So if we provide tasks each day, just like with the time cards you're reviewing currently today, then you have time to make any adjustments or corrections that need to happen, so that when we get to the end of the pay period on that Monday morning, we don't have, oh my gosh, hundreds of hours and multiple employees to it.
So, Barry, on the project plan tasks, are we gonna have every posted service request?
Yep. Every service request that's active will be in there.
What happens, and we do this quite a bit, we work on work orders that aren't active.
We'll kick them back. Yeah, we'll just charge them to your M&O. No, we're just reach out to the office. If we can still activate it, we've created in Workday a window on those projects as to a space of about a week or so once they're closed that we can go back and reactivate them. But you've got to reach out and let us know.
So we're still gonna keep our work order and service request systems.
Correct. Yep.
In fact, the CMMS is going to feed those recorder service requests every few minutes to Workday. So as soon as something gets created, it might take a minute, but it'll be there relatively quickly.
Yeah, it should be within a couple of minutes that you'll see that active again.
But if somebody doesn't see a task, and you're like, dude, I know you should see that. What would be the problem? How would you troubleshoot that right now? If somebody's like, oh, I went to allocate and I don't see 201. What would be the problem? I know you don't know all the back end, but just what do you think? What would be a problem? Why wouldn't somebody see something they should see? There's probably a couple reasons why you would see it, right? Projects closed is a good one. They're not approved to work on the work order, right? Like it hasn't been communicated to him or his team that Bob needs to be on that project, right? Or if your shop is doing a job with another shop and your guys are working on it and they're like, hey, we don't see that. It's because most likely your shop isn't listed as a shop that should be working on that work
Work
order.
that out on the work order screen.
Correct.
So how quickly do you see that?
In a
Like,
couple
we
minutes.
had
That's right.
who makes that? It's
Instantaneous.
instantaneous, so they're
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah, yep. They're integrated.
Oh,
Kyle Gray,
What about approvals?
what about him? Sorry, go ahead.
Show them what we're gonna be approving. Like, all this, like, their time.
What other questions?
Yeah, we'll show that in just a second.
Okay.
Oh, no, I was gonna let him finish. What did he have?
He wants to see the approval process.
Oh, okay.
We have also on our current work order papers, we have the tasks.
Yeah.
Are those going away?
Yeah, tasks will go away. We're not gonna worry about booking those tasks specifically in Workday, and for time tracking, we don't need to worry about that.
That'll be done.
And you should know that tasks in Workday means something different
Something
than,
different.
yeah, it means the work order service
Yeah,
request now.
it's a service
Those
request
are
or work
synonymous
order.
terms now.
Just like that.
Okay.
Project.
For the last 3 minutes, we're gonna try and show you the approval process.
Yes, all right, so, this is our time and absence dashboard, and really quick, for those of you that have students, for example, there's a lot of reports on here that might not pertain to you. You can go to this, gear shift at the top, and you can, move things around, or you can delete them as needed. So if you don't, some reports might not pertain to you, just remove them, make it your own. Okay, and then this one just pops up and shows if people are checked in or not, and I was gonna add a punch type on there of if it's mobile or web. All right, so I do have the ability to approve all of my inbox tasks one by one. Do I wanna do that? Probably not, there's 57 of them. So, I wanna go to review time. If you all follow along and click on the review time on the right-hand side. There we go.
Go to time and absence.
Yeah, and you can go to time, if you click on the menu, you can go to time and absence. Or that one. No, you're fine. That one, it's gonna take you to the same, multiple ways to get to the same place. We're showing you a couple different ways to get there. Problems over here, are we good?
Okay, so from review time, just click on the okay. Let me see what your error is. You can pick that, yeah. If you have people that report to you that are both, yeah, click okay. Okay, so from this screen, this is probably going to be the place that people are approving time the most, especially if you have a lot of employees. So from the screen, you can approve submitted time. Now, what we suggest is that you need to still verify it. This is only just a summary of the hours. It doesn't show what it actually is. So, for example, on Abby, I can click on Abby's name, and I can get a drop down of what all is going on for Abby. So this is all of the stuff that she has going on. I can see the errors that are on her timesheet currently as well. So you can see a lot from this area. And then here are also the project time, any time off that she's taken, all of that's listed here. If I go back, then I can see, then it's back to the list of people. So let's just say, because it's 11, we want to approve this. If I click on that box at the very top box on the left-hand side, it'll select all, and then I can approve from there. So again, we recommend that everybody actually goes in and verifies before they approve. But once I approve, then it's going to give me a list of what was approved and what wasn't approved. Remember, I can only approve submitted time. So if one of my employees has not submitted their time yet, I cannot approve it.
You should write that one down. Employees who have not submitted their time you want to hound them until they do. And you should hound them every day until they get in the habit of submitting it every day. We're going to tell you who those people are.
Don't make Shannon angry, guys. If you take nothing else away from this. Okay, so then I can see what's been approved and what this spits out nicely in your face, time not approved. I'm gonna click on done. And then if I go to my inbox tab items, I know it says 57, but all of my items have been cleared out. You actually approve from that review time screen. Anything that's in your inbox will clear out. You don't have to do double approval.
You can also approve from that task, like she mentioned. It will just come in one at a time. It will come in for each block of time that's been submitted, but also for each allocation breakdown. So I charge to 201, 106, and 507. It's going to send tasks for both of those things because we want to make sure, one, that the block of time is accurate, but also that the work orders associated with what we're billing our customers is also accurate. But you can review those through this hub that she's just showed or through the tasks. So I know we're pressed up on time, and I appreciate you sticking with us for 2 hours. Happy to stick around for questions that you may have. We'll send out some correspondence here. Feel free to continue to play on the mobile, and they're okay if I give them a link to play in 8 as well.
Yeah.
I'll send out a link so that you can be on the web. The great thing is with the web-based software, I'll just send you a link and you can check in the same way that you normally would. So if you have any questions, please feel free to stick around.
Yep, so you have an opportunity to play with this later, right? So if you're like, hey, I would like to see something a little bit more, we're going to give you a link so you can do that. And you can click and play and check things out. We're going to try and give you enough time to become familiar with it. So don't be shy. You should click on the link and go in and play.
I think maybe the last takeaway before we go is we've tapped you to be the champions for this process. I know that there's a lot of new here. There's a lot to take on. But if you're asked and questioned, we just want you to be honest about what it is. And this is a great way for us to accurately pay and accurately bill customers. The nuances and things, we'll work through it as we learn it and get into it. But please be an advocate for what we're doing here. Thanks.
Is there any type of link in, like video you can watch on this?
Oh, yeah, this is what we set up. Yeah, we set up different. Oh, I'm glad, because we didn't get to it. No, it's fine, this is like, this is custom. Have fun. It will.
Like hard one,
Yeah, I just learned a lot.
Yeah, you'll have access to questions.
Okay, so if somebody who's allocated to approve, how does somebody else?
You can't.
Oh, yeah, I didn't go through delegations. I can do that really quick and then,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, delegation, yeah, I'll do that. No, that's fine. I just did all out, but I
Thank you. Yep. Thanks for coming.
I can keep you guys cool. You can see my breath in here from now on. So okay, no, I got that.
I'm all about seeing my breath in
That's
there.
what the Turks and
Yeah.
as a manager, so say I submit my time I put the wrong work order down, and it requires you have to send it back to me. And that's what I thought for one.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, real quickly before you all leave, one last thing. You as a manager will be able to see reports and approve time, but you as a manager will not be able to fix time for your employees. They have to fix their own, or they have to call payroll. There's only two people, two places, two groups that can fix time. The employees themselves and payroll. That's it.
Next week they're gonna do it, or if they forgot.
They can.
Just for records.
That's correct. You can't fix anything for them. You can send stuff back, but if there's a problem, they have to fix it themselves, or you're gonna have to tell them, I payroll, I'll pay you.
That's why you told us that you have to count them. Make sure
That's in part, yep.
Alright, so. Alright guys, I'm going in as Jason. I manage you, you're gonna delegate to her, and then we're gonna look at her. So I go to my delegations.
If you're interested in seeing delegations for the last few minutes, that's what we're doing right now.
Just
Alright.
email me.
Manage delegations
Let me
from
know
here.
that something's not right. It's not been right for
I
years.
need to provide a beginning and
Every
an
time
end date,
Robert
and
changes
beginning
something,
date has to be today
update it.
in the
So
future,
like
it
I'm
cannot be in the
going
past. So let's just say I'm gonna be out for 3 weeks or something, and I need her to be able to
Yeah.
approve.
We'll get something out. Yeah, I want to make all those changes.
When I'm playing around with it, I wanna have it right.
All right, so in the delegate section is where I would put in.
Okay, that sounds good.
What if you were to tell?
So that's what I'm giving it to, and it should be, you should be able to delegate
At the beginning of December.
to anyone.
We're
It's set
gonna
up
do
now,
time cards.
however, use discretion.
But we're gonna absolutely do it as a voting right.
To approve time, right?
Couple weeks.
So, if, as a manager
Oh.
though, then you, what
To
if,
see
I mean, can you see
what
as a
we're making
manager all the
mistakes
time
on
in person
and stuff.
Like,
I mean,
say
we
you
could
have somebody underneath you
try
that's
to
supervising
do
students,
that
right?
and see.
And maybe that
We might
person
be able
is
to measure
or sick and they can't go in and
Okay.
delegate. As a manager, if I go in and.
Yeah, so you should be able to delegate on their behalf, like you could do it for them, yeah. If they were away and weren't able to do it, yeah. So on this one, it's, you do have the start on my behalf, so it'd be able to do things on behalf of those that report to you. As a typical manager, what we're really gonna be seeing on this is more of the tasks. So I need to approve time, I need to approve time off. I would suggest not really doing the start on my behalf unless you need to, like if they need to kick off talent reviews or something, I don't know. But start on my behalf doesn't really need to be filled out for the purposes of absence and time tracking. Do tasks on my behalf? Should. So I'm gonna click on for all business processes. And then also, this is already clicked, so it's retain access to my delegated tasks. So just so Jason can see what you've done on his behalf. So I'm just gonna submit that. And I believe it's successfully completed. So now what we can do, because I can't do it in proxy, but if we go to your webpage and if you can refresh it at the top. And click on your face over there. Let's go to the inbox items. And do we have any, do you approve all of yours, Jason, or do you have some? Can you search for Lee? Is this yours? Okay. Okay, so then this is where it's gonna say switch account. and then press OK. And then you're going to get access to those inbox items.
I do this anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll get to Randy.
So then
Jason's like,
you have the ability
everybody's
to,
like, why
to
do
do
I have
that.
access to all
And
this? I'm like, Kyle's doing it.
also, so we're not gonna be able to do the review time, but bulk approve is very similar to review time. So, if you click on that bulk approve on the, yeah. You can approve multiple, after you've reviewed their time or their absence, you can approve multiple from here as well. So that's another option. If you cancel out of there and then go back up to the face,
Now it's your face.
there's a switch account, and so that just in case you forget who you are, they put it in parentheses. I don't know, that's one of my pet peeves, but.
If you've had amnesia between the time you started and finished, you're gonna need that.
So that's how it goes. And then after the time frame ends, or let's say you
What if
pay
you come
back
back
early,
early?
you can
You
edit.
just go in and edit it.
Yeah, so thanks for asking, guys.
But
It's
a
pretty
delegation should never be like
permanent.
20 years, right? It should be
You're
a
on
reasonable
vacation
time.
for a week or two, and somebody else needs to be doing it.
Yeah.
or you're-
Yeah. I don't think that'll be as big an issue in PF as it is in like a college where professors like, this is beneath me. I'm not going to. Somebody else should be doing this menial approval thing. Yeah, well, we're going to be looking at that too, dude. If your secretary is you, then why do we have you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when I was a student a lot of years ago, I learned my boss's signature and I signed the time.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
At his request, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks,
and
guys.
asking questions
Thank you.
and stuff.